as
Thank you.
requested, and I see some people, here comes Tammy. She's just asked to be admitted, so that's good. Everybody who's on the screen, as you look around the screen, you see people who you recognize, names who belong here, correct? We're not seeing anybody that doesn't belong. If you see something that looks suspicious, make sure you let me know, and I will do my best to end the Google Meet.
Perfect.
Isn't it fun that the sun is coming right in my house right as I sit here? It's kind of lovely. Good evening, everybody. I know that some of you have 7 o'clock commitments, and so I'm glad we were able to get together through a different Google Meet. Melissa and Judy and Michelle and Tammy, are you guys thinking there's anybody else that was in the other meet that isn't here yet?
There was one other person, but otherwise, I think we have everybody over. So we just had Christopher. So if one pops up for Christopher, they would be allowed in.
All right.
All right. So why don't we thank you, everybody, for switching over again. I apologize for needing to do that. We are going to work with the district on getting a Google account for us that we'll be able to do these and not have to do any more meeting switcheroos on us. So tonight, I think I would like to start with an update from Chris. And then I want to do a little bit out of order. I want to do the talk about extended school year because Chris will probably have a little update on that. So I want to put those together. And then we can continue on with upcoming events, bylaws, when we want to do the SEPAC officer elections, and then talk about the next school committee meeting. All right. So Chris, if you have some good updates for us, we would love to hear them.
All right. Hi, everybody. Of course, ESY is a big part of what's on my mind right now. Even as we get our kids back into the building, I'm already thinking about getting them out for summer, which is kind of ironic. But let me see. So I want to update you. I was hoping that Faith Hansen would be able to pop on the meeting. I don't see her in the audience yet, but and maybe she was experiencing some difficulties. Faith Hansen is the new Randy Jacob in the Office of Student Services in Central Office. So Faith is spending time figuring out how all of our amazing systems work and how to take what has lived in Randy's heart and mind and make it a part of what lives in her heart and mind to make us an effective district. So she has taken on transportation for our van students, and she's learning the ins and outs of all of that. Of course, vans are particularly complicated right now as we have gone back to school for the 4.5 days a week. And in addition, we are planning and developing the return to school for our high school students after April vacation. So all of that is happening right now. So central office around vans and buses is a little stressful, but we're getting there. You know, I think we have changed our van schedules. It feels like a million times this year. And so here comes one more. So the vans are notifying families when the changes are, you know, of any changes. Parents can see updated bus and van. I think bus information, possibly not van information on Power School. If you log in your children's accounts, you can figure out what time and when to be, what time and where to be for bus stops. So that's a big piece of what's going on right now. Of course, we are thrilled to have our students in our buildings more. It has been a great relief to have the kids back, and our faculty have been thrilled to have them back. I can't say enough about all of that. We are moving forward with our Wilson instruction program. So we will be rolling out a program for 3 days in June, which will have over 30 participants in that Wilson training. It's really the introductory to Wilson, but from that, we will cull some people who will want to go on and get fully certified in Wilson. So we are beginning that process in June. It became very complicated to find the proper date and time to do that because of the MCAS schedule. So our building principals are not willing to release their staff for 3 consecutive days when they have an MCAS window upon them, because it's all hands on deck during that time. As you can imagine, it's very difficult to get enough proctors or separate settings for the many children that require to be tested in separate settings. So we are glad we have secured 3 dates in June, and we are moving ahead with that. In addition to that, we have also been working on assessing and then ordering, and now tomorrow sorting and distributing brand new curriculum from reading mastery, reading for language for reading, and some math curriculum from McGraw also. All of that material is going out to our early adopters of curriculum that have self-selected themselves into that group of early adopters for, as I said, reading and math, direct instruction. The SRA program is evidence-based. It provides fantastic data on students' growth and has demonstrated some significant academic gains for students from 2.5 years in 1 school year. We've seen great results from that program, so we are very excited to have been able to allocate some funds towards curriculum for students in special education, so that the specially designed instruction is in fact more scientific, more data driven, and more targeted to the areas of disability. Let's see. Okay, so I think the next area that I should talk about is ESY. So I had a chance to meet with Melissa and Michelle, who volunteered to be a part of an ESY conversation. And I think we were still at our very beginning moments of that because of where we are we're sort of behind in our regular timeline for ESY, but understandably so because of the COVID impact conversations. So as we look at ESY now, just maybe a week and a half later, we are making decisions and having conversations about the location of the ESY, the ESY versus the Gen Ed program, and wondering about how many students would be referred to what we're calling the impact academies. So that's like the COVID impact academies may be open to, students on IEPs or not on IEPs. So there's a question about how many kids are we already capturing with ESY services, and of that same identified group of kids that would need COVID impact services over the summer. So what I'm considering sort of I'll call it the Gen Ed impact, because it's not coming out of special ed, but I'm in the house of both, if that makes any sense. So we're trying to think about location, resources in terms of nursing and secretarial support. We're thinking a lot about busing and trying to imagine what is the best way to get the best bang for our buck, so that we are putting the resources that we do have in the right place, which is with our children. So these are the conversations that we're having with building principals and in central office. So I bring that to our SEPAC tonight to say, what are your thoughts about summer location, summer, this ESY model versus this COVID impact, the possibility of those programs sort of merging for a number of weeks. Does anybody have any particular thoughts that they want to share?
If you merge them, it would give some of our special ed kids opportunity for inclusion.
Yeah,
which we don't typically get in the summer.
Right. That is true. One of the downsides of that is that our IEPs for summer have never been written for inclusion settings. So it's kind of an odd thing. It's not necessarily inclusion because it's still happening outside of the gen ed, but we would have these other kids with us that typically we don't have, right? We don't have anybody but our neediest kids in the summer. So I'm excited about that opportunity and looking for ways to sort of find the line between what the IEP says, which is that it's a special ed summer, it's in the C grid, right? So I have to make sure legally like what that looks like. But I think having more inclusion opportunities is a great idea. I'm also hoping that the summer, the configuration of what happens in those summer tutorial or summer academic program can be somewhat influenced by this other academy joining us. So we have put out a survey to all of the district teachers asking who would be available, asking for no commitment, but would you be willing to teach remotely, teach in person, or teach summer at all? And we don't have a huge number of people that are interested, particularly as teachers, particularly as special ed teachers. And so that always gives me a little bit of worry. You know, we know this summer is going to be particularly difficult for people to invest more time in their job when we are hearing from a number of teachers and administrators that folks are just burnt out. So as we sort through, like, how do we make the most of our resources, I want to make sure that the kids that are coming in, hold on one second while I admit Miss Parker. While the kids that are coming into the ESY program, I want to make sure that they come in with some diagnostic information, some academic diagnostic information. You see my little air quotes. And I'm saying that because I'm thinking that we need to either have done some STAR assessments or some significant curriculum assessments that tells us as a summer teacher, what does this kiddo need to work on? What's the area of weakness for the summer? So we can be really targeted during those 4 weeks that we have them in July. So that's some of, again, the conversation that's happening in central office as we go through these big decisions that we're making. So I will circle back to my ESY group, the three of us, to have another conversation. The postings officially went to HR today and hopefully will go up before the week is out. Again, we have surveyed the teachers to find out what's our number look like. Do we even have enough WRSD teachers to run the summer ESY and the summer academy, which I think we do. We're talking about merging those two two programs. We're talking about having the whole program located in one central location so that we aren't busing kids to multiple places to get the most bang for our buck with busing, which might mean maybe we'll actually be able to run a big bus in one of the towns. Of course, our kids who need small vans would still have access to everything that they need, but we want to make the best of this moment, this opportunity. Any other comments for ESY that you want to share with me?
Were you going to send out the communication to parents too, or are you waiting on that for a little bit longer?
Well, I have to wait because I don't necessarily know what to communicate at this point, right? I mean, these decisions, like, we're still not at a firm decision. We're still very much in the processing, all of it, you know. I mean, these are the moments when I realize just how thin we are in central office. You know, I pull together ESY and there's nobody to pull together this other academy program. And so I'm doing quite a bit of it along with, you know, tapping into to Bob, tapping into Daryl. We're looking at tapping into leaning on our principals to just get the framework of stuff going before we, then we look at referrals of kids and all this stuff. So there's so many steps to pulling it all together, in addition to all of the other pieces of our day-to-day job that happen, particularly in special ed. April, May, and June are really hot months for a lot of IEP meetings. You start seeing placement changes. We see kids moving in and out of the district all year, so that's not particularly new, but it's intensive. This is an intense time of year. So again, any other comments that you either want me to hear about ESY, or are there any other comments or concerns or situations that you wanted to bring to this public setting that I should be aware of?
No, I think for ESY, we'll just keep everything updated on the ESY, the committee. And then, I think that at the end of the day, it's like just more to come. So I think you'll be putting a communication out shortly and as we firm things up. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Do you want to, Melissa, do we go to is there an update from Chris from the vocational program?
So I saw that on the agenda. I know, Melissa, you asked about that. I'm not exactly sure what you're asking. I can tell you that at the high school, we are spending some time over April vacation and a little bit beyond that using staff for some training around different model of teaching, which comes out of a program called Teach. It involves teaching in stations and teaching more planning and direct instruction around life skills, academic needs that revolve around students with life skills level curriculum, and more vocational and pre-vocational training stations and centers that we're going to be designing through April, May, and June, and then really begin to move furniture and change the setups of classrooms over the summer. Melissa, did you have something more specific about the vocational programming that you wanted to ask me?
So I think it's just an area where we have concerns as a group and kind of want to put that as a project for us to work on. We know a lot of our students don't have the opportunity to go to a real vocational school. So we need to be preparing them to be getting a job when they get out of school. And what they're getting right now, shredding paper or filling a vending machine, doesn't turn into an actual job out in the real world. You can't get a job where you're filling a vending machine because they can't drive there. They can't do that, sweeping a floor. Those aren't really jobs that you can get out in the real world. And so we'd really like to see the program kind of revamped or something done so that we can actually start moving these children towards being self-sufficient and independent once they graduate. So the whole 18-22 area needs some revamping. There's some excellent programs out there like Westboro where they have their own building and they have a store that the students work at. They have the direct staff there. So you're getting retail, you're getting customer, you're getting a lot of exposure.
Yep. I would just remind you that this year, because of COVID, a lot of our internships did not happen. So there are many other internships that our students have been engaged in. And many of the internships don't necessarily turn into jobs, no matter what district we're talking about, because the companies or the businesses that use those as internships maintain them as internships. However, I think in the best case scenario, a student is 22 years old and is graduating with a job. That's actually, I think, for a lot of our kids, as valuable as graduating with a diploma. So I definitely agree with what you're talking about, and I think that's where we, particularly in the 9 through 12, actually we go all the way down to 6th, 7th grade. We're doing a lot in the development of pre-vocational and then vocational skills. So again, filling a vending machine is not going to turn into a job of filling a vending machine, but it is going to practice or teach, depending on the level of the child, the ability to complete a task independently, or complete a task that's not about sitting at a desk and completing an academic task, but is a job-related task. So again, those are the skills that we're teaching and what we're supposed to teach through the public skills. We're supposed to be teaching skills.
Yes,
Michelle, you had sorry.
Yeah,
they need
the soft skills to be able to do that. But we also need that when they're in that 18 to 22, we need to be getting, I realize we do some internships. I mean, they go over to the fire station and wash fire trucks. That doesn't going to turn into a real job. Or they go and detail a car.
Well, I have to tell you that there are students that have absolutely been hired to do car detailing. Okay. And so some of the internships do teach the exact skills that are necessary. Our students may not be able to hold a 40-hour-a-week job, but they may be able to hold, a job in a part-time realm.
Is he on the Xbox or something?
So if there's what I would love to say, like, just from a parent perspective, I mean, my kiddos are young, but on like seeing their future development is something that I think about often, even just thinking my kindergartner going into 1st grade and organizing his time and, things like that. So what I would love to do, if it's possible, is there a way we can, similar to how we do ESY, is there a way to form some kind of, subcommittee or partnership where a group of parents and stakeholders, other folks could get together and try to put together, I know there's a number of resources. Actually, there was just a whole series of meetings from a state-sponsored nonprofit that went through a number of topics.
Because bandwidth is getting really...
What? So I would like to, as an action next step, I'd like to propose that we could establish a subcommittee to identify, that could be made up of, whoever number of stakeholders that could identify, what do we have and what are we looking for and, what's out there that we could leverage, right? So we don't have to recreate the wheel, but we could leverage it. So we could look at model programs, we could look at other resources, and then be able to kind of bring it back and say, here's how we could execute it and make that recommendation to the school. Because I think
absolutely. Absolutely. I think I think that's a great idea. And again, I think there is some shifting happening in our programming right now. And I think that's a great place to focus for next year. I don't know what the timeline is that you guys are looking at, but I would see that as a great opportunity. And also to really investigate the population of students that are in our life skills post-grad programs, as we go forward.
Okay,
Lincoln,
just one more comment on that is we also have to look at is, not all of our students are doing the 18 to 22, and we still have to prepare them for a job too.
Yeah.
So we've had lots of those conversations are made at the IEP table about how to address a student's vocational or pre-vocational opportunities while they are concurrently either pursuing a diploma or not pursuing a diploma. So, this is when we really realize just how short our school day is, and the acquisition of a diploma takes all the time away from trying to really get intensive pre-vocational or vocational training in place. And that's when we really want to make sure we have strong partnerships with our community partners and MRC and DDS to make sure our families are well connected so that that work can also continue outside of the school day.
And I think to that effect, so Chris, and that's a good point there, because and it's something where I think along the path, every special ed parent and family is going to end up there. So I think we're all invested, K to preschool and beyond,
Absolutely.
to this effort. And so I think it would just be great, again, not understanding that yet at this level, but seeing what does that path look like? What is the what's the state of the state? And what are areas we can make measurable improvement on? Because I get that there are so many different points. I just know that we could always, like, the more we can engage, we can leverage some of the time and talents of our community,
Sure.
right? To help move this forward,
Absolutely.
make the recommendation. So,
Yep.
can I make, like, I don't know if I need to make like a motion or have like an official action that I'm recommending is that we can establish a subcommittee on that vocational timeline with the specific focus to look at in the first priority, looking at that 18 to 22 and what that path looks like 9 through grade 9 and then through up to the age of 22. And then we can always work backwards, but to look at that, like, what's the state of the state? What are we looking for? Like, what's the gap and what our expectation is, and then how could we fill that in either with existing resources or, some slight modifications, or is there additional funding that's needed, but at least have some measurable outcomes to that.
Sure.
So
Sure.
do I make a motion or does what I don't know who has to agree on that. Melissa,
Well, Lincoln's had his hand up. He was waiting to discuss about this.
Okay.
So I want to give him a chance to talk
Sure.
before we make any kind of motion or anything of that nature.
Sure. Lincoln?
Lincoln, we can't hear you. Your microphone is not on. I don't see that you're muted, but I can't hear you. Are you on a different device? Because I don't hear audio at all. Yes, you are on a different device. Click in on your phone, maybe. And he disappeared.
I'll probably circle back and come on in.
Yeah.
Okay, so Tammy had her hand up next then.
Okay.
Lincoln, you want to try? No, I can't hear you.
Okay.
Okay, so he's saying hands down. Okay.
He's saying, go ahead.
Okay. So Tammy, did you want to say something?
Yeah, our original thought with this was that the SEPAC really should have a couple of things to work on with the district, with the special education department. And this is one that we have targeted as an area of need. There are a lot of programs out there that the kids could be working on. And we were thinking about this as something next year that the SEPAC can work on with the administration and maybe, start developing some programs. The district has a good 14-year-old program with custodians that you can work 14 years and up. And they have a good summer program, custodial program that we could maybe get the kids involved in, summer vacations, or even helping with the custodians. There are so many things. I know that, and I know they don't do this now, but at one point, Rightline was doing assembly with a small group of people from the Mercy Center. My nephew down the Cape, he went to age 22. He has medical issues, and he actually ended up getting a job at a boating company where he's actually working 25 hours a week because his internship was washing the boats, making sure everything is secure. There were a lot of other things he was doing, and they started him off small and worked his way up to when he turned 22, graduated from high school, or actually received a certificate. He was able to secure a job. We are a comprehensive school district still, and I think we should be offering these kids more trade type options. And I think there are businesses out there. I do agree COVID might have held us up for this year. That's why we were looking at next year and looking with that, looking into the different businesses in the 5-town area that may be interested in it, that would be able to get to give people jobs afterwards.
Tammy, thank you. I would agree. And I think SEPAC can also help us with some outreach to even other ideas that maybe we haven't considered or been able to tap into just from lack of knowing. Lincoln, I see you've tried maybe a different device. Let's see if we can hear your handsome voice now. Give me a bellow. No, he hit the wrong button. Hey, you know, he's usually much more effective in a meeting. I don't know how many of you have had a meeting with Lincoln, but you usually can hear him without a problem. Oh, Lincoln, are you there? We're still talking about you. Pop off that the right button this time and see if we can hear you.
Okay,
go ahead.
Let's see. Did that work?
Well done, well done.
So sorry, everybody. Boy, navigating a couple different devices is never easy when you don't bring your work computer home where you get all these things normally done with. So, I just wanted to contribute to the conversation, and I missed the last little bit. But, if thinking of forming a committee, I do think that the conversation begins at grade 9, if not earlier. I mean, when we
earlier
about the track that students have to be on, right? When we're considering that a student might get their diploma, well, earning a diploma is what we do to prepare students to have employment, right? If you've received your diploma, that is a celebration. That means my hope would be that you are on the equal playing field to some extent or another with others to be able to obtain employment after you graduate, and or pursue studies following that point in time. And that is where it gets most challenging for us. So I think if thinking of forming a committee, I think that has to be a very important part of the conversation. And then, absolutely would want to share, I think our contributions could be to share a list of partners that I've seen us form, having been in the district for quite some time and worked with the folks up at the high school to some extent. There are many, many different opportunities I've heard where students have been in our community, whether or not that be at the Big Y, local retail, offices in our area where they've actually done these internships offsite. And then, obviously we have some of the named opportunities you mentioned, Melissa, at our high school in terms of employment training opportunities. But I think that even is a wider variety. And I even saw Andrea chime in about the internship opportunities that she's making available at the Early Childhood Center. And we have students actually who come to various schools across our district and do work for, in various capacities as well. So, I think it's a great idea. Absolutely stand behind it. I think it's an important area for us to focus on. Just kind of wanted to highlight those details.
Thank you. Yeah, so I think we just want to work on this as going forward next year as a whole CPAC. I don't think we necessarily need a subcommittee to do it. I think we just want to make it a goal for the group as a whole. And if we need to have some separate meetings, we could perhaps do that, but I'd like to see it as a group goal, in my opinion.
Well, I do think I, as a director and as a mom, have always thought beyond 22. It's super hard for parents to get there and think about that. But the time from 22 and beyond is much greater than from 0 to 22. And the amount of support that families have from 0 to 22 is often much greater than the support that they have post 22. So I like to talk about graduation in preschool. I like to talk about the vision for children in, elementary school, and really talking about, if your student is participating in a lot of inclusion, like how much is that, how significantly is that curriculum modified to the point of what are the students doing for MCAS? What does that mean for them as they're going forward? And, and how do we support them really thinking about post 22 so that we're really doing our job and doing our job well. I do want to add that we do have a pre-vocational room actually in Choxit that's used for particularly for our discrete trial training around gaining skills in the pre-vocational arena. So that is set up, and we have more and more of that happening across the district. Is there any other areas that you, Melissa, wanted me to talk or be with you or listen to as the committee, as the group is, as SEPAC is here tonight?
Those were the areas I wanted. I see, Tammy, do you still have a hand raised, or was that left over? Okay, so Michelle.
I think it's a leftover hand.
That's fine.
I think Michelle has a hand. Isn't that her hand?
Michelle has her hand up.
Okay, I can't tell on this. Oh.
No, I think those are all great. So it sounds like for the commitment is in the fall. So am I hearing that this would not be the goal, and the kind of the discussions would happen in the 21-22 time range? I'm just thinking, I know there's a ton going on, and then there's summer. My only thought is if we're getting, if there's any forward momentum over the summer to then start to influence things in the 21-22 school year, if it would be prudent to just have kind of a game plan so we could go into the school year starting out strong if it's a focus area for the SEPAC.
Yeah, I think it's a next year goal. I think the only thing we could do over the summer was maybe some internships, which I know, not trying to be personal here, but I know I had asked for my son to have an internship over the summer, and that's not moved anywhere yet, but hopefully they can figure out something on that, because I think our kids would benefit from doing internships as well as doing summer school at the high school age.
Yeah, again, those decisions are made at the IEP team meetings, and we have to remember what the scope of ESY is for each individual student. So, but, I definitely don't want to get into any personal conversations at the table.
Understand. All right, so yes, those were the areas we had questions from you. Was there anybody else who had anything else from Chris? Okay, so if you wanted
and again, the ESY committee is working right now. I was going to call a meeting for the week after vacation. So if anybody else wants to participate in that with Melissa and Michelle, we are open to anybody joining us. Just give me an email and I will invite you to that meeting. Thank you for having me tonight. I see a number of my staff on the call with us tonight, and I appreciate all of you leaning in and being a part of an amazing school year that has really defined for many of us our lives, before COVID and after COVID, and we're making it. We really can see ourselves out of this coming soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chris, I'm hoping I don't know what's going to happen if Chris leaves from a technical perspective. I'm hoping that the meeting can still continue. Yes,
I can leave the meeting, but not end the call. So I'm going to do that. And if something happens, quick, somebody send me an email or a text and I'll check in to make sure that you guys are still able to run. Okay. But I will dismiss myself now. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Okay, so then we just wanted to touch on some upcoming events. So our next thing is the basic rights presentation for next month. That's going to be on May 11th, given by the Federation. So the speaker again is Elaine Rabbit, and she's an advocate as well as having a child in the transition age group. So she comes to us with a wealth of knowledge. One of the things she wants to talk about, since most of us do know a lot about the IEP, one of the areas that she's really good at and wants to talk about is measurable goals. So how do we write measurable goals in our IEPs so that we can gauge real progress? So that's one of the areas that she's going to focus a little bit of her time on. Another upcoming event that we have is the Wind Beneath Their Wings. So on that, we're going to, so the Wind Beneath Their Wings program is parents nominate any faculty, it could be faculty, it could be an outside program, it could be, bus drivers, any person who has an influence in our child's life. They would nominate them for an award. We do limit how many a family can do so that just to keep the numbers somewhat under control. And then we typically have a certificate that we give to them with a little gift. Last year we weren't able to give a little gift, and we do a ceremony. I'm not sure about a ceremony again this year. We might have the same issue with COVID. I don't know that we'll be able to do that. Lincoln?
Just wanted to make sure that a parent, without giving too much away, first time it ever happened, parent with I work with a lot of students who are out of district, and a parent wanted to nominate a faculty member of the out of district school. And I wanted to absolutely support that and allow for that, hopefully, to be a part of the experience of the wings ceremony. So
yes, those are absolutely done.
Okay, good.
We had some of those last year and the year before. So yes, our out of district students are more than welcome and encouraged to nominate their faculty. And then we send an email to their boss letting them know that how great of a job they did and that they were nominated, so that hopefully they'll be recognized on their end as well.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yep. So we need to come up with a timeline for wings. Usually we start opening nominations after April vacation. We usually give people about 2 weeks, and then we close it off and then start going through all of the nominations, grouping them together, and then start notifying people of that. Then we would need to, we typically would have a ceremony the beginning of June, but in this case, we would just be giving certificates and that to all of the faculty. Does anybody have any questions on that, or is anybody concerned about timeline, or do we want to set firm dates? Michelle?
Oh, yes. I wanted to ask if we could propose a timeline, or if you had, if our chairs had a timeline, or I could bring up what we wanted to talk about for dates.
Yeah, so typically we would open it as soon as April vacation is over. So let me pull up my calendar. So typically we would open it the week of the 26th. So we would open it sometime during the week of the 26th and then close it probably May 14th. And then that would give us a couple weeks to go through all of them and start getting certificates and that created and then hopefully by the end of that first week of June, we can have all of that announced, because we'll need to, they send that to Daryl and he will put that out to the school community as well as we.
Melissa, does that look about right from a timing perspective?
Yep.
Okay. Sounds good. Cool.
My next question is there anyone who has any interest in doing any specific area of this, or any wants to volunteer to help out with any certain area? If so, I'll gladly take it. Otherwise, we'll figure it out here.
Count me in, Melissa. If there's anything, if there's a to-do, feel free to reach out to me.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Lincoln.
Yep, Melissa, just let me know if I can help.
Okay.
Let me know what I can do.
Okay.
Almost, I could like to volunteer as well to help.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because if you can get the Google form up, that would be the first step. So if you want to go ahead and work on getting that bit done, the Google form, so they can do the nominations, and then get the email. We'll get the email drafted to go out to families so that it's ready for when they get back from vacation.
Sounds good. I will take the action. I will get a proposed email and link. I'll send it over to you. And if it's good, we can send it to, I think, or Tammy, Lincoln, Melissa, Michelle is who I have on the docket.
Yep.
Anyone else? Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have one question, Melissa, because I'm kind of new to this.
Yep.
Nominations, can teams be nominated?
So it's you nominate an individual. So we usually let families nominate up to 2 or 3. So because we want this to be people who have went above and beyond for our kids.
What if a team went above and beyond? An entire team?
We could look into that. If the family felt strongly about it, I think we could look into that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Was there a comment?
Oh, no, Melissa, I was just making notes.
Sorry, I was just trying. I was like, I saw something pop up, so I wanted to make sure.
Sorry. Okay.
It's okay. Okay. So that gets the wing beneath our wings. And then, yeah, I think, I can check with Davis Hill and see if we'll be able to have a ceremony, but I think with social distancing and that, I don't think we're going to be able to do a ceremony this year. I think we're going to have to just create the certificates and deliver them to the faculty again this year. And hopefully next year we'll be back to usual. Okay. So what else did we have on our agenda? I closed it. Open a little agenda. Okay.
We have elections and then bylaw updates.
Elections and bylaws. Okay. So because we want to make some bylaw updates, we have to give a 30-day notice for people to read through the bylaw changes before we can vote on them. So we need, and some of the changes that we want changed in the bylaws are officer positions that are available. So we need to decide if we want to hold a special meeting and do the bylaws or the officers' elections. Because we do need to elect before the end of the school year. Or if we wanted to do it as in one and ratify the bylaws first and then go straight into an election, which I think will be kind of unusual since we won't have changed the current positions. They won't necessarily be reflected if we don't change the bylaws. We won't have had nominees for the positions. Yes, Michelle, Nicole. Oh, you're muted.
I think we should do it in 2 parts, just so we can have them posted.
Yeah, that's what I thought too, but I wanted to make sure everyone was in agreement of that. So let's see. So we will probably, let's look at our calendar. So probably end of May, do one for the bylaws. So if we posted that first week of, we'd have to post the first week of May, and we could do one at the end of May. And then we can do at our normal June meeting, we can do the officer elections. Does that sound okay to everybody? Okay. Okay. All right. So then that leads us to the bylaw updates. So the bylaw updates that we had identified before was that we wanted to change the current positions to be a chair, a co-chair, a secretary, a treasurer, and a parliamentarian would be the new positions. And the others would then just become volunteer work that people could put in, but they wouldn't necessarily be, oh, thank you very much for coming, Lincoln. Have a good evening.
Good night, Lincoln.
Night. Good night, everybody.
People are always welcome to help out. They can always step in. They can always come to all the meetings, but they wouldn't necessarily have to be part of the core group that's voting and running the meetings and gathering the information. So it leaves less communication between a larger group. The other consideration we had looked about was changing quorum. Because I think our current quorum is 10, which sometimes is hard to get 10 people there to vote. So we had considered going down to 8 for quorum. And we had considered putting in something about attendance requirement for officers so that we didn't get into a situation where we have people who are elected officers and are not showing up to meetings, so they're really not representing the people that have voted them in. So we wanted to put in, say, you're showing up to 75% of the meetings. Does anybody have any discussion about any of those changes? Any thoughts, any dislikes, any feedback? It's a quiet group tonight. Okay, so I guess we'll just get those typed up and we can get those sent out and posted. And then the last agenda item we had was the next school committee meeting. So we are scheduled for our quarterly meeting at the end of the month with the school committee. So I wanted to see if there were any topics or issues that anyone had that they wanted us to address as we speak to the school committee and represent us as a group of special ed students and parents as to concerns that we have or areas where we'd like to see improvement or something to draw attention to any specific areas. Tammy.
Hi, yeah. The purpose
The
purpose of speaking with the school committee is because this group reports to them quarterly, is also to ask them for help and to support us. One of the things I would like to see we mention is that vocational program that we would like to start and get running, in the fall. That would be one of the things I'd like added to speak with them about.
I agree on that.
I also agree. Yep.
Yep. That's one I had on my list. Is there any other concerns that we have? Oh, we wanted to update that. We wanted to. Sorry, I'm talking to myself as I'm talking to you.
I didn't know if there was something we, as there are new folks that are getting elected to the school committee, is there any kind of meet and greet that's planned? You know, I know the CPAC reports to the school committee, but the special ed parent community at large, getting to understand the folks that are getting voted into the school committee. I didn't know if anyone was aware of any other kind of candidate meet and greet or just a way for families to understand the folks that are getting elected into these positions that have influence.
Usually, Michelle, they have meet and greets with the towns, each individual towns. They usually hold their own, actually, debates. Some of them, I know Holden does, or at least they used to. And they usually do a night where meet the candidates and you can ask them questions. And I think that's a good point, especially being in the special ed community. Who are you voting in to the school committee?
Yeah, that's great. I'll just as a Holden resident, I'm gonna email the town clerk and see if
That's
we
a
have
good
anything,
idea.
and I'll post that back. So I'll see if I can find out more info and report back.
Melissa, we might also want to add this talk about the Wings Beneath Their Wings program with the school committee. Are they aware of this program? And
Yes, they all get
Okay.
notified, but I want to bring up the timeline and all of that just to highlight it with them. Yes.
and it's a good opportunity too, because they usually get about, between 600 and 1,100 people to join their meeting.
Yes.
Sometimes only 100, but it's a good way of, letting the public know, the parents know that this, that we're looking for this.
Yep.
The nominations.
Okay. I got that on there. And I wrote basic rights where we advertise it.
Yep. To that point as well, once the recognition is final, reporting it to the school committee would solidify it as, public record, further supporting the nominees, the awardees publicly.
Okay. That sounds like we've got everything. Did anybody have anything else that they wanted to discuss tonight? Tammy, you still have your hand up? Or no, you're good. You're good? Okay. I know, it's hard. This technology is craziness. Okay.
Especially with me.
I just have a quick question.
Yes.
Who's the person at district office? Appears I might have gotten bumped back off of the CPAC announcement list. I'm not on the regular. I don't have like a power school. I'm not on the regular because my kid's out of district, but I'm supposed to still be on the CPAC list. It appears I'm not getting them again. Who do I ask to re-add me?
So it'd be that new person that Chris mentioned tonight.
Oh, I didn't grab the name.
Faith.
Yeah.
Her name is Faith Handsome.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Could you say that again?
Yep. Faith.
Faith.
Handsome. HANSOM, I believe.
And she's a central office.
Yeah, she's the new
Okay.
Randy.
Okay.
Oh, HANSON
Okay.
is her last name.
HANSON. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, thank you everybody for coming. And we will see you at Basic Rights next month. All right. Have a good evening.
Thank
Night.
you. Bye.
Night.
Good night.
Bye, guys.
She said, "Your technology retarded." I'm even worse. When I get off, I just shut the frickin' screen. Tell her to do it.
I don't know how to leave the meeting. Get it, Haley.
Then they can hear you. No, she's talking.